What's going on, everybody? Jameson here. Now, before I get into tonight's announcement, I want y'all to know how much I've appreciated y'all's support and encouragement over the last year since the 2022 Texas primaries wrapped up. Over the last year, I've seen a lot, I've learned a lot, and I've become a constitutional coach with the Patriot Academy. I've volunteered my time with the Montgomery County Tea Party and Freedom Caucus. Whether it was coming together to pray for the release of Catherine Engelbrecht and Greg Phillips of True the Vote when they were wrongfully imprisoned here in Montgomery County, or the J6 prayer rally where we interceded on behalf of those innocent people whose rights were stripped after being imprisoned with no due process, something that goes against the very core of our constitutional republic. Now, I've stood up with patriots in Katy, Texas, where we protested a kid-friendly drag show, ran a candidate for school board out in Huffman, Texas, volunteered at the polls, and then here recently helped with the rally against censorship with Kyle Rittenhouse, which was a huge success, by the way. And shout out to Mark Pruitt and the folks at Defiance Publishing for sponsoring the event. The last year has really had its ups and downs for all of us. America's at a crossroads, ladies and gentlemen. For far too long, we've stood by and watched those who were elected to represent us, the people, cower and bow to the demands of unelected bureaucrats and special interests. Well, now Americans are frustrated and we feel disenfranchised on two fronts. Our party affiliations and a federal government that's supposed to operate in a limited jurisdiction and capacity under the consent of the governed. The result of an overreaching federal government has led to our beloved constitutional republic being transformed into nothing more than an oligarchy, a form of government which power rests with a small number of people. We've all been endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But now it seems that the lives of American citizens have become expendable, and we've become nothing more than pawns stuck in a sick game. Many of our representatives stood silently by as unelected bureaucrats and big government tyrants mandated both masks and jabs, shut down small businesses, and destroyed family incomes. Taxation without representation. It's no longer just a grievance found in the Declaration of Independence, but has become a grievance felt in the hearts and the wallets of working class Americans all over Texas and the rest of the nation. Liberty has become an illusion, and we now live in an elaborate simulation that has kept the American people enslaved to a machine that cares only about staying in power. It's cost us trillions of dollars and brainwashed many into unsuspectedly electing people into office that continue to violate the oath that they took when they were elected. Using crises and threats to our national security, legislation has been passed and backdoor deals have been made by representatives under the guise of public safety, incrementally resulting in the loss of our constitutional rights, liberties, and freedoms. Over the last couple of years, most people have come to the realization that the difference between conspiracy theory and reality is about 6 months. The deep state has infiltrated every level of government from the federal and state all the way down to the county levels. Here in Texas, the World Economic Forum and China have their claws so deep in our great state that we've become just a microcosm of the United States. And many of us feel disenfranchised by our own parties who seem to have abandoned not only their own platforms and values, but they've abandoned us as well. I'm running into more and more people each day that believe that the answer is to create a third party. Well, that would be difficult to do because the infrastructure needed in order for that to be successful would be immense. Not only that, but doing that kind of feels like giving up. And as a seventh generation Texan, I wasn't taught to give up, but to stand and fight. I'm personally sick and tired of the Marxists, globalists, and deep states hijacking our parties, platforms, and states, and then just expecting us to own nothing and be happy. Hell no. I say we rebel and reclaim what's rightfully ours. For those of you who believe there's no hope and that America and Texas are too far gone, guys, I'm reminded of a conversation that I was having with Rick Green last week. And we were talking about this very thing, actually. So George Washington, right? On Christmas night, 1776, 90% of his troops abandoned him. They took the attitude of, it's too far gone. It's just a lost cause. And they went home. But Washington read the words of Thomas Paine, words that had been written just days earlier. These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will in this present crisis shrink from service to his country. But he that stands it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. In other words, it's easy to be patriotic when times are good, but the real test of character and commitment comes when times seem hopeless. And so Washington read those words to the troops crossing that icy Delaware River during a snowstorm against impossible odds to attack the very professional Haitian soldiers that had just kicked his butt twice in a row and wiped the floor with his troops. Yet Washington, along with his 2,400 troops, perseveres, and they win. And his number of troops sweep back up to 15,000 in just a few weeks. There were many moments where they felt just like we feel right now, but the remnant persevered. Guys, we can't give up. We must stay in the fight. The rest of Montgomery County needs us. The rest of Harris County needs us. The rest of Texas needs us. And the rest of the country is looking to us Texans to lead this fight. Or we can simply do as Sam Adams said, crouch down and lick the hand that feeds you, and may posterity forget that you were once our countrymen. Guys, it's time to reclaim our party, reclaim Montgomery and Harris counties, reclaim Texas, and reclaim America. Gone are the days of electing the same traditional, inauthentic, polished politicians with impressive resumes and Harvard degrees. They don't fight for us, common people, because they're too disconnected to truly represent us. And it's my humble opinion that my current congressman, Representative Dan Crenshaw, has unfortunately become part of the problem. Like many of you, I had high hopes for Congressman Crenshaw, and it pains me to even think someone who served our country has abandoned their oath. Just in the last year since the 2022 Texas primaries ended, I have watched my congressman go on CNN and Fox News and complain about how inflation is hurting Americans, while not only voting to pass an $817 billion defense spending bill without defunding the military vaccine mandates, but also voting to fund the war in Ukraine through the end of Joe Biden's first term with a $40 billion aid package, as well as a $1.5 trillion omnibus funding Biden's vaccine mandates. It's frustrating to see someone who served our country with such valor be named a young global leader by Klaus Schwab in the World Economic Forum. The very people whose globalist ideologies have infiltrated our government at every level and have utterly destroyed our economy. In August, he protested the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago, claiming he believed it was an abuse of FISA warrants, while failing to mention that he actually voted for the illegal and warrantless spying of American citizens under the guise of national defense. In my humble opinion, my congressman, he had the opportunity to show his constituents that he actually cared about this topic. But despite concerns from President Trump and his legal team, he proceeded to vote to reauthorize FISA and the Patriot Act. But this isn't about Representative Crenshaw. This is about us. It's time to rebel and reclaim our party, reclaim our country, reclaim our counties, and reclaim Texas. And that's why I'm officially announcing my candidacy to restore your voice, a Texas conservative voice, to Washington, D.C., and be your next representative for Texas' 2nd Congressional District. Because of all of you, despite our limited resources and short campaign window in the last race, in 2022, we managed to take 17% of the primary votes from a much better funded incumbent, proving that Texas is fed up with status quo politics. And so if you're like me and you're sick and tired of the smoke and mirrors and the gaslighting, if you're frustrated because you feel like your voice isn't being heard and you're fed up with deep state politicians voting away your liberty and money, then I humbly ask for your support and for your vote. In 2022, we were outspent 200-1. Now, I can't do this on my own. And so I'm asking you to help me defeat my opponent to restore your voice and conservative Texas values to Washington, D.C. Your contribution of any amount helps to get our message out to voters. So contribute today by going to jamesonellis.com. And I'm issuing a challenge. This is where we make our stand. It's time for Texans to take back their power and be the force for liberty in D.C. so that we can finally have a voice that won't go unheard. Refuse to be sold and traded on the market of power like some political commodity. Too many in government have already abused their influence, trading it back and forth for power and wealth they don't deserve. This is where we make our stand. So stand with me today by going to jamesonellis.com, and remember, live rebellious, question everything, experience truth, restore liberty. Live rebellious, live Texas. Join the resistance today to reclaim our party, reclaim our country, reclaim our counties, and reclaim Texas. In the 2022 Texas primaries, Representative Crenshaw was put on notice. In 2024, we finished the job we all started together. God bless you, God bless Texas, and God bless America.